43 years ago, with £100 in my bank account, approximately 585 euros in today's money, I spent £99 and 99 pence of it, in short, my entire net worth, on a tiny home computer called the ZX Spectrum. It was exciting, revolutionary at the time, almost magical, part of a new concept known as home computing. Excited, I took the Spectrum home, unboxed it and switched it on, and then reality hit. Firstly, I'd purchased the 16K RAM version that was the base model, but everyone, apart from me it seemed, knew that the real fun was with the larger 48K RAM model, but at £129 and 99 pence, and with my limited means, that was a distant dream. Secondly, the Spectrum had no way of storing data. As such, while you could upload programs with a tape recorder and run them, or code something quite brilliant and execute it, the moment you turned it off, you had to start again. So I quickly worked out that I also now needed a tape recorder to get the best experience. My dear mother, let's call her my chief operating officer at this stage, was a little bit annoyed that I'd spent my entire life savings on this rubber-keyed thing and told me a number of times that I should have spent the money on a push bike and be outside more in the fresh air. Despite me begging for money for a tape recorder, we simply didn't have the cash for one, and I was blocked. I quickly learned a couple of lessons in business. Firstly, that without cash, you can't do very much. And secondly, the journey rarely goes to plan. You should always expect the unexpected and remain flexible. And in this case, this manifested itself in my need for a tape recorder. So not to be put off, I rolled up my sleeves and started to learn how to code in BASIC. I would code all day and most of the night, and then when the little computer had had enough, I would switch it off and start again the next day. My name's David Aston, and I'm an entrepreneur. So being an entrepreneur is not something that I say just in an ad hoc way. It is something that is actually very complicated in me, and it is something that is really something I say, if I have to explain it, it's quite difficult to explain. Being an entrepreneur is complex. It is something that makes me struggle through every day, but at the same time, it brings out great passion in what I do. Many people nowadays want to be an entrepreneur. They think it's cool to be an entrepreneur, to walk around and to say, I'm an entrepreneur, I can do anything. But actually, being an entrepreneur involves working long hours. I work ridiculously long hours. It means sacrificing a lot. But at the same time, it gives me a lot of passion and joy to get out of bed every morning and actually deliver my dream and drive forward many things that I'm passionate about. So I'm tonight going to talk about three companies, actually two companies and one innovation. The one company is called Microsoft, you may have heard of it. The other one is ASML, a rather large company. And the third innovation is Tikkie, which was created by ABN AMRO, and luckily Ali from Bunkers left, otherwise I think he'd be trying to throttle me at the moment. So I didn't realize he was going to be here. So first of all, starting with Microsoft. So when Microsoft started, it was kicked off with two young entrepreneurs in their garage, Bill Gates and Paul Allen, and they had a lot of challenges ahead of them. They tried to sell software to IBM, and IBM was a hardware company. I mean, I remember a lot of these people. They were very old, out-of-date people who only believed in selling a server, and they insisted that there was no market for software. But Paul Allen and Bill Gates, they persisted. They realized that actually the real gold lay in software, in developing software and putting that onto people's desktops. And they had a real win with IBM, because IBM allowed them to put MS-DOS 2.0 on the desktop, and suddenly their vision of a computer in every home became a computer in every home with their software on it. So Microsoft in the early days really struggled. They had hardly any money. They battled very, very hard to get the company off the ground. And I, for one, can remember many different situations with Microsoft when we started with Windows 3.1, we're now on Windows 11, how they've gone through the internet battle with Google, Microsoft Explorer now Bing. And I've seen them at every stage grow and enhance and build what they're offering to customers. So today, if you think about Microsoft, it's on your phone, it's in your home, and it's at work. You can't really do much without Microsoft. You'll get an email on Outlook. You'll have another ping on your Teams channel, you'll be calling people all around the world and running your business. Our whole business is run on Microsoft. ASML, set up in about 1984. It was a joint venture with Philips and a company called ASM. L is lithography, that's the name of the machine. And what happened with ASML was that they worked very closely with the Dutch government to become the world leaders in these machines that are actually producing microchips for your computers and now for your phones. Initially, they had a lot of challenges. There were a lot of Japanese competitors in the market. They didn't know who they were, a small Dutch company. And they battled and fought for about 26 years to become the world leader in these large, massive machines, which you can see behind me. And these machines now produce almost all the chips globally in your phone or in your laptop. And that's quite amazing, to be honest with you, to have that. So without ASML today, you would not be able to pick up your phone, you would not be able to drive your laptop, and you probably wouldn't be able to do half the work that you're doing right now. So they're a huge enabler, but they sit in the background and no one really knows much about them. So all of this is coming together, and you've got Microsoft on one hand with their great operating systems and their platforms. You've got technology evolving very fast. You've got chips, microchips, etc. And we're walking around now with these little phones in our pocket, which are basically mini microcomputers, all plugged into a global internet and a global network. So nowadays, communication is instant. I quite often get out of bed in the morning, have a call with the team in Sydney, then talk to the team in Dubai, then talk to the team in London, and then I have a coffee. I mean, that's usually by about 9 o'clock. I mean, it's completely off the scale compared to when I was growing up with my small house and no stairs. So the third thing I'm going to talk about is Tikkie. So Tikkie was an innovation actually with ABN AMRO. A friend of mine was involved in creating Tikkie, hence why I thought I'd choose it. Tikkie had a dream. They wanted to basically remove the friction with payments. So in the Netherlands, well, globally, you go out for dinner, you'll have dinner with your friends, etc., and at the end of the evening you say, well, who's going to pay the bill? And then you need to split it. That was always a problem, especially with cash, because you can never get it quite right, and people are always a bit sort of short-changed. So you had this problem with money exchange and people not really being able to swap and pay, etc. And in the Netherlands, it's a real passion to share the bill. You probably know this, right? It's also a passion to get people to pay other things. I'm quite amazed some of my team now go out on dates and ask the other party to make sure they Tikkie them if it doesn't go well, and all these sort of things are happening. So Tikkie really serviced a need. It serviced the need to be able to ensure that people could pay each other back. And people such as, using Dutch names, Geertje wouldn't be upset that Gerrit wasn't going to pay her the 3 euro cents that he owed her. So just to give you a bit more example on this, I have a real example. I'm a parent. My children are out there in the back there, and they go to university here in Groningen, or at least 2 of them do. One of them now has left. And this example is all about how Tikkie works. So I usually get a phone call, probably not quite daily, but weekly. Dad, I've got a problem. I need some help. Can you help me? So how this works is that, being a good parent I want to help my children. They don't have the money, so they ask me for an amount of money, and they add a small beer on the side of it, but don't tell me about that, of course. So I get this nice little invoice, and in it comes, and it goes through the Tikkie app, and here I am receiving the WhatsApp message, and that then goes out of my bank account straight into the individual, in this case, my wonderful children at the back there. So that's great, makes me feel good, means that there's no friction in the payment, and it's almost instant. So all of this is removing friction in the process and ensuring that we can actually pay people with the minimum of fuss. So where does this get exciting? Well, it gets exciting when you start to consolidate all this together. So you've got your mobile phone, you've got your Tikkie and Bunk, other solutions in your pocket. Definitely Bunk, get Bunk out there. You've got ASML powering your phone faster and faster than ever. You've got Microsoft making your whole office on the move. I mean, quite often I will go away now and don't take my laptop. I just work with my phone. So all of this now is becoming faster, and we've now got this thing called AI, right, which has come out there. I've got to do a tech talk and talk about AI. So we're very involved with AI, especially generative and non-generative AI, and we're seeing how this now can produce these apps. There's the word called agentic, where companies and others are creating these super apps that are now starting to enhance your daily life. So they start to look at how you behave. They start to look at your actions. They start to ensure that you can go into a shop and pay with facial recognition. And the whole aim of these companies, rightly or wrongly, will be to remove most of the friction in your daily life. You should be able to walk around. Your phone will recognize where you are. You'll take a drink off the shelf in Amazon Go, for example, and they will just say, right, thank you very much. Your recognition, paid, move on. Tikkie will empower that, as will other payment platforms, but you'll basically just become part of the system, and you do not have to worry about a lot of these things that are burdening your daily life. So this is where we are now. So this is me, right? Fully AI. In the corner here, and fully wired up, fully connected. So as I mentioned, I probably spend, well, I get out of bed usually 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, go to bed usually about now, the whole aim of what I do and the whole my whole day is empowered by these different types of technology. I move extremely quickly. I work in multiple languages, and I'm able to cut across multiple time zones. And all of this I actually do from my spare bedroom in a small house in the north of the Netherlands. So I started the presentation with these. Still need a bit of testing, but what I actually did was I consolidated for this talk all of the technology that I have. So I have my phone, I have these very clever glasses, and these glasses are brand new, and I've never tested the microphone. So they did a good job to start with, and then they struggled a bit. But they're very interesting because you can actually talk, you can read the speech in front of you, and you can actually talk at a very deep level and give presentations that, quite frankly, I've never been able to give before. So these glasses are not only doing helping with the speech, they actually have GPS. I can use them to navigate, so I don't have to look at my phone. I can actually transcribe. I can also use direct translation. So I do a lot of work in the Middle East, and there in the Middle East, for example, in Riyadh, I can then talk to my Arabic counterpart because he talks to my glasses and I know what he's saying. So the future's here, right? It's already coming, and when you start to collapse all of these technologies together, you'll see really that you'll become faster and more integrated into the global ecosystem, if you want to be. And that's the big if. So that's my summary, really. That's where we are. These things, started with a ripple effect. It started with me with my ZX Spectrum, spending £99.99, prioritizing that over the fact that we didn't really have any stairs or roof on the house, versus how Microsoft has now started with nothing and built all these different apps and tech. And then you've got ASML that's empowering and pushing forward technology as fast as it can, combined with payment platforms, banks, etc. And all of this comes together to empower you and me and make life faster and more efficient. And that's really what inspires me, is to actually get out of bed every day, look at these technologies, work with them, and basically use that ripple effect, that initial point from getting involved with computers and then pushing out across my daily life and improving what I do. So I hope that also empowers you as well. Okay, thank you.